All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're so happy to be here to present to you all today around generative AI as an essential tool in improving education equity. And we're going to start by introducing ourselves. I'm Luke Hostetter. I'm the proud executive director of City Year San Jose, Silicon Valley. I have about 20 years of experience in education. I started my career as a City Year core member, so the organization that I now work for. And my experience as a core member inspired me to teach. There I am, a bright-eyed young person in a City Year uniform, serving in schools, and inspired me to teach, then ultimately become a school principal. And where I led a school in Philadelphia for 15 years before moving out here to the Bay Area to lead our San Jose Silicon Valley site in City Year. And we'll talk more about what that program was and why it's so important for this moment we find ourselves in with generative artificial intelligence. And I'm going to turn it over to Katelijn.
Good afternoon. I'm Katelijn Vleugels. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Class Genius. We are an educational technology company, and we build generative AI tools for teachers to help reduce their workload. Prior to Class Genius, I was a CEO and co-founder of Clue, which was also a purpose-driven venture, but it was in the medical space. Just in a nutshell, we were trying to help people living with diabetes, developed an AI gesture sensing software that could automatically detect and measure eating activities and integrated that seamlessly with insulin therapy. 2019, we were acquired by Medtronic and combined our technologies to develop a fully autonomous artificial pancreas system. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. I owe a lot to Stanford and the community. I studied here. I had the opportunity to work alongside some amazing faculty and some of the brightest students in the engineering department for more than 10 years. And then with my last business, I actually was working very closely in partnership with the School of Medicine. It was an incredible collaboration and laid a very strong foundation for the impact and the success of the company in the space. So thank you, Stanford, and thanks for having us today. Luke, back to you.
Thanks, Katelijn. And we have a unique partnership here because I'm coming from the field of education, having spent most of my careers working in K through 12 schools and now leading young people in their service at City Year, and Katelijn bringing the technical expertise from the generative artificial intelligence field. So we'll be having both of us speak from our position of expertise. Before we jump in, though, we wanted to activate our thinking around this. And so there's going to be a poll that you see shortly to answer a few trivia questions to see, warm up our brains for our presentation. So our first question, what decade was AI founded as an academic discipline? And there should be a poll question that pops up for our attendees to respond to. I feel like we should have some Jeopardy music in the background, but we don't have that. All right, if you answered E, the 1950s, you were correct. We'll go to the next question, number 2. What is one of the fundamental research goals of AI? And I'll be practicing my teacher wait time, giving you all a few seconds to think. All right, if you answered A, reasoning, you are correct. Number 3, what percentage of students says AI can help them learn better? What percentage of students said AI can help them learn better? Oh, a few more moments. And if you said C, 76%, according to an impact research study of teen respondents, 76% said they could help them learn better, which is going to be an important detail for our presentation today. Number 4, how can AI support teachers in the classroom? How can AI support teachers in the classroom? And I believe this is a select all that apply before we jump into our presentation. A few more moments. If you said A, B, and C promote student engagement, give immediate feedback and support, and provide more personalized interactions, then you were correct. All 3 of those are how AI can support teachers in the classroom, and we'll be delving into those topics in our presentation today. And last question, true or false? There is education district leaders believe AI should be incorporated in all classes. The answer is true for number 5. We are going to address some of the misconceptions today around incorporating artificial intelligence into some of our district spaces. But as a whole, education district leaders believe this should be incorporated in all classrooms. All right, so we are going to jump into our discussion today. Polls are closed. And we're going to start with why we are presenting as AI as having an ability to address educational inequities. As a former principal, I can tell you that in specifically high needs areas, but across all school systems, our educators that have been working in the field are on the verge of burnout. There is tremendous potential for us to lift the burden of what it takes to be a teacher, from planning to preparing to meet the needs of students at various levels across your classroom, and to use the technologies that we have to reduce the amount of burnout, especially in schools where there are external challenges that students and families and educators all face. And so there's a tremendous potential for us as we develop this field to provide a personalized education for all students in need. And according to a State of the American Teacher Survey study, compared to other professions, teachers reported a significantly higher level of burnout and a higher level of depression in their field. And as mentioned, this is compounded by in communities where there is a lack of resources and opportunity, where in classrooms, students are facing a wide range of abilities and needs. I'm going to speak more specifically in a moment about the communities that we serve here in Silicon Valley, right across the street from our friends at Stanford, where we're seeing significant disparity in academic outcomes. And we're having classrooms where there are needs for students to have specialized education services through their IEPs, where there are English language needs, where there's less access to curriculum and resources, outdated instructional materials. And so we're seeing these challenges more prevalent in incomes where there are predominantly students of color, or there are students that are in high poverty neighborhoods. And specifically the regions that we serve. So our program, which I'll talk about in a moment, are serving in the east side of San Jose and in East Palo Alto. And in these areas, an interesting data point that is of importance for this presentation is after the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw in the one district we served in Alum Rock a decrease in test scores in reading and writing and math scores of almost 10%, while right next door in a higher socioeconomic school district, Evergreen School District, students saw an increase in their math and reading scores. And this is also mirrors the data that we've gotten back from our East Palo Alto school districts, Ravenswood City school districts, where there has been a decrease in that time since the pandemic in test scores. In neighboring school districts, Menlo Park, Atherton, have seen an increase. And as a school leader during this pandemic time, there was a concerning period where districts, and those of you that had students or children that were in school or saw this firsthand know that there was an adjustment period to hybrid and virtual learning that a lot of our schools were slow to adapt and adjust to. And in leading a school in a high poverty area, we didn't even have the computers to be able to meet the needs of students going into a virtual environment. And so over the last 4 years, these issues have compounded themselves. We continue to see an extreme disparity between students that had access and didn't have access. And this shows up in test scores. It shows up with how students come to school each day socially and emotionally in their learning. And we have a tremendous opportunity and moment here across the country, but in our region specifically, to leverage the power of generative artificial intelligence to help close some of those achievement gaps. So the need's never been higher. It continues to grow, and we have a great opportunity to take action on it. And we're going to talk about that today. So a little bit about City Year. We believe that we are a program that is part of the solution to young people tapping into the technology of generative AI. So we're going to show a short video that kind of previews the type of work that we're doing in school.
I wish people knew like the small things matter, like the little things you say around kids. You might not think it will have a big impact on them, but they will remember them.
Playing with Reese's with them every single day matters. And talking to them about what their favorite song matters. We're not only teaching them what they should become, but we're also teaching them how they should receive love. And you're teaching these students, you are valued. You have a space in this room. You know, like you are here because you're meant to be here.
Some kids start the year off unmotivated. They feel like, oh, I can't do this, and it's impossible. Then by just constantly encouraging them and doing your best to teach them, then at the end of the year, they were motivated. They realized they could do this, and it just took a little effort.
As an individual, for me, the way I'm changing the world is by influencing one person at a time. You're impacting one student, and a couple of years, that same student is going to do the same thing to another one. And it just keeps on going for generations and generations.
All right, those were some of our amazing core members that are serving for a year in an AmeriCorps program, and they are working in schools one-on-one with students, working in small group instructions. And we believe that as we discuss some of the power of generative AI today, one of the solutions is how do we engage young people in interfacing with this technology, building up their professional skills to be able to become supports in their year of service in the classroom, but also 60% of our core members move into teaching after their year of service. And so preparing the next workforce to be able to support and have an understanding of the technology and tools they need to bring it directly into their classrooms when and if they decide to become teachers. So this is we call it a whole school, whole child approach in our program. I think a misconception about how we incorporate generative AI into our work is that it's going to replace that one-on-one, that human connection. And Katelijn and I, as we've talked about the programs that she's developed and the way that we use it here, believe that that human connection is essential. It's critical. We're not replacing jobs. We're strengthening the work that can happen in a classroom. And our goal as a program is to be that additional resource for teachers. Imagine if we're able to amplify that impact of young people by using the technologies of generative artificial intelligence. So this is a brief outline of the type of program that we have. Katelijn, you can go to the next slide. And we're a program that's been proven effective too. And so we believe we have to have young people in our program, but across all education programs prepared to use the technology. So here are some statistics that we share about how we are making a difference in classrooms currently. And again, our theory of change is through using and training our young people that are core members and using the technology, we can amplify this impact. And you notice that number on bullet 3, we have 30,000 alums across the nation. And that's after 30 years of service. And so that number is going to grow in the next 10 years. And if our core members and if our young people across all AmeriCorps programs, across all education professions, are able to embrace and understand how we can use this technology ethically and responsibly, and then they go into teaching professions, we can exponentially grow that impact across our region and across our country too. So our theory is we have to embrace the AI advancements, which we're going to talk about shortly, specifically in the communities that we serve, which were often slower to adapt and adjust to the changing technological landscape, where there are higher socioeconomic communities that have been able to easily embrace, access, and purchase the technology. We want to bring it to the communities that sometimes have been slower to adapt and adjust. We want to prepare the next generation of educators. And all of this is to make the job of a teacher in the classroom reduce that burden that comes with planning for a classroom with so many different needs of students in their classrooms. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katelijn to talk more about how our generative AI technology can work and how we're partnering with the young people who are using this in their day-to-day work. Katelijn.
Thank you. So as Luke already suggested or talked about, there is an immense pressure and burden on the teachers today. It's to the point where the job of a teacher is becoming undoable. And it's especially true in these communities where that are traditionally have been under-resourced. So how can AI help? How can generative AI specifically help, and how can where does a platform like Class Genius come in? We like to think about generative AI as a tool or a toolbox to bring efficiency into the role of the teacher. So we like to tell teachers that we want to give them their Sunday back. If I'm a teacher and I want to help a student build a certain skill, and the student is at a certain level, it should be really easy for me to create a worksheet or an assignment to help that student. If I want to prepare my students for state testing, if I want to do a formative assessment to see where the student is at, if I want to prepare a student for an AP exam, it should be even easy for me as a teacher to create those materials. And if I come home at night after a day of teaching with a stack of papers to grade, I should be able to get some help from AI to bring that job that I know normally takes me 20 to 30 minutes per paper, bring it down to maybe 5 or 10. So we see generative AI mostly as a productivity booster, a way to bring in efficiency. But as Luke already suggested, and something that is really key to our approach, to our model, to our DNA, is that the teacher should and will always be in control. As you saw in the video, those small moments, they're really big. Those connections with the student, they're irreplaceable, they're unAIable. And so it's only the teacher has those connections, knows the student inside and out. And so that's something we want to preserve. We want to preserve the creativity, the values, the unique style, and most importantly, the understanding and connection with the students and their journey. So this is where the real magic comes in. A reaction we get a lot is, whoa, you can personalize a classroom assignment to the exact level of my student. And then you can draw the student into the learning, because you can actually bring their worlds into the story, into the assignment, into the work. They can even be play a role in it, or their friends or their pets or whatever they care about, and it's top of mind. And I think this really captures the uniqueness and the power of this moment. It is for the first time in the history of education that teachers have access to technology that allows them actually to deliver these hyper-personalized pathways. And they can do that in a matter of minutes. And so to kind of put a little bit more color on what I'm talking about here, I just want to spend a few quick minutes showing you an example. So say I'm helping let's say, 6th grader. I'm trying to help him understand the concept of gravity. Now, this 6th grader has a little interest in science, but he loves basketball. So with generative AI, we can now say, well, can we actually explain the concept and the principles of gravity or the forces of motion, but through the lens of someone who loves basketball? And so let's just go through that example quickly together here. So I'm teaching a science class. Maybe we want to create, make it a realistic fiction story in this case. And basically, I'm going to try to make the AI write something about gravity, but contextualized to basketball. And maybe I can even make Jack, my student, the protagonist of the story, and ask the AI to write it as a conversation between Jack and his hero. Let's say it's Steph Curry. And maybe, maybe he even gets to play. And this is where the creativity and kind of that unique bond of the teacher comes in. He or she can make this fully personalized to the situation. And off we go. We'll see what the AI comes back with. AI is working on it right now. And so the idea here is really, rather than using a textbook explanation, can we basically write a story that brings in Jack, brings in Steph Curry, and really draws the student into a story that he or she is interested in. So this is kind of one step, first step. Now the teacher said, well, I really want to make sure that the student understands either the concepts, or actually want to practice maybe some reading comprehension. So let's create a couple of questions to help students build specific skills. Can do that too. And so here, basically, the teacher can choose if it's multiple choice, short answer, true, false, fill in the blanks. Can use it for a conversation with the student, can use it as a worksheet, can use it as an assessment, whatever the situation whatever is most appropriate to the situation. So I don't want to spend more time on this, but I think you get the gist. We're here in a unique moment where for the first time we really can get to this hyper personalization, which we know there's plenty of research that supports, plenty of evidence out there that supports that personalization actually supports and facilitates learning. And we can do so, every educator can do so in essentially a click of a button. I'm going to go back now to the presentation. So at the foundation of all these are the large language models. They're the enablers. They are what are creating this moment. And they're improving fast. The capacity, the capabilities are improving at an exponential speed. On top of that, we believe we need an infrastructure layer. And so that is some of the tech I was at a very high level talking about. It's really critical that there is an infrastructure for the educators that is refined and tailored and configured for their specific use cases and for their specific needs. The content that's created needs to be high quality, consistent, and accurate with the proper guardrails. Workflows need to be seamless, and the platform needs to be secure and private for it to be usable in the model we're just describing. But then at the end of it, and Luke talked about it, but at the end of it, something that's often overlooked or not openly discussed in the generative AI conversation, at the center of it is the program. At the center of it is the humans. And so really a lot of focus and attention should be going to how do we roll out this piece of tech to the educators so that ultimately it is useful for them and they can have the impact in the communities they're serving. And so for that, I'm seeing three kind of different steps. There's a planning phase. won't go into detail here because we're running out of time. There is a training phase, important that we get the educators to be familiar with the tech, comfortable with the tech, and really equip them with the skills, as Luke was suggesting earlier, to allow them to thrive in their career as teachers down the road. And then ultimately, as we roll out the program, taking a data-driven approach where we measure and iterate and refine the model. So all this to say that we believe that by putting all these pieces together, we can educators get back to what they love, which is connecting and inspiring the students, being there with the students in these small moments, and further amplifying the impact they have. So we believe that generative AI will become the teacher's new superpower. It will allow them to be more efficient, more effective in the classroom. We also believe that generative AI will lead to better learning outcomes, and by essentially unlocking these incredibly powerful, hyper-personalized learning pathways. But we also believe for that reality, or that future to become a reality, we need to make a commitment to quality. We cannot jeopardize quality on anything that the AI generates without essentially jeopardizing the quality of the instruction and the education. We need to commit to training these young professionals, and we need to commit to, and we are committing to creating a configurable platform that meets exactly, is configured exactly for the needs of each educator or each group of educators at a time. So we cannot do it alone, and so that's why we're excited to be working together, City Year and Class Genius, on this initiative. And I'll hand it back off to Luke to give a little bit more light on that and wrap it up.
No, thank you, Katelijn. And I would add, from at a macro sense, the job of teachers are hard, and it is too often where we see someone start in the profession and then leave after 2-3 years and not see a career path. And I think at the core of all of this is, how do we train the next generation of teachers, the next generation of young people, to use these technology and tools to be able to see a career where you're able to make a decent wage, you're able to commit the time to continue to go to school and develop yourself. And I think that's the spirit of AI, is making our world around us more efficient, so we can put the time and energy and resources that we have into the students that we're working with, getting to know them as humans and people, and use these tools to make our workplaces more efficient. And education needs to think about AI in the same way, as we're seeing across medical fields in other industries. So we're excited to explore and discover what's possible in this moment, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to this group here, and encourage you, if you have questions, thoughts, feedback. We're in that phase of our work right now where we're wanting to be alongside all the folks that are doing exciting work in this industry. And so we're going to put up our contact information right here. Feel free to reach out and contact us so we can continue the conversation. Thank you.